Okay. I feel weak in the knee and I hardly speak.
You lie.
Oh, look, Hangouts on Air is going away later this year.
We'll have to figure it out.
Can you believe that?
Everything's changing.
Oh, no. Don't be showing the studio rooms and the fancy equipment that we hold in here. Even Daisy. I am Daisy.
Daisy Brando.
Daisy. Come on. Want to get here? Okay. You want to be on TV?
You're not jacking me up.
You want to get on TV?
Y'all love you, but I got aches and pains.
You want everybody to see you?
Oh, this is your water. I'll let you put it. It tastes different.
Tastes better. I put preservatives and sweeteners.
Additives.
Yummies. Man, oh man.
Man, the Chevy. Woo! Chevy Regal.
So much news, man. What's the deal, baby? You know how we do up in here on a Friday night, man. We have a
Is you live?
Is you live? Shout out Prince Lake. Shout out L Boogie. L Boogie in the house. Shout out my other friend L Boogie. L Boogie in the hill. Shout out my people. Who's with my gang?
Hey, Sammy D.
What up?
Miss you guys too. Hey, Pierre. What's up?
Man, y'all, we've been away for far too long.
Hi, Hilda. You missed one day. Well, I missed one day.
We missed far too long.
Because you went live, right?
I went live on Facebook only.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't really like to do the most.
Without his co-host. See how that rhymes? You don't like to do the most without his
co-host. Gang.
Ooh, Lord help me.
Yeah.
Hey, Mary.
How is y'all doing? That's what I want to know. Like, is y'all okay?
Hey, Carol. Hey, Nancy. Giving out the shout out. Shout out to everybody. Sorry if I missed you.
It's Father's Day weekend, so shout out all my fathers out there, not just single, but those that stay the course and be with their wives. And you know what? There's nothing wrong as long as you're a good father. And by father, I mean not a baby daddy or nothing crazy like that there. I mean a father. I mean a person that's involved in their children's lives, a person that stands true by their family, whether it just be you and that child or children, or it be you in a household, but you stand up. You do what's right even when it hurts. And you know what? Shout out to all the real men out there that make that happen. Not just today, but 364 other days of the year because it's hard.
That's right. Hey, what's up, Steve? Hi, Nancy. Hey, Mary. Hey, Bethany. Hey, John. What's up, Robert? Ooh, hi, Lisa. My girl, Lisa. All right, I'll let you start with the news. And what's up, Eureka? All right.
Did you get all your friends?
All my friends.
Just all your friends.
My friends.
Me and my closest friends. First off, y'all, I got to show y'all something. Cachon.
Go for it.
Cachon.
Shami says, we rich yet?
Look. If you a kangaroo, you rich forever. We got our own coin, folks. Look at this, y'all.
Mm-hmm. It's not our own coin.
It's our coin. Just the state, the country of Australia printed for us.
Is it?
It's a kangaroo coin, y'all. Check it out.
Elizabeth II's in the back.
Yeah, y'all. This is so
live. Y'all women rule the world. Y'all better
but a kangaroo makes it happen. And hey, shout out to all the Patreon. Everybody in the Patreon group's going to get one of these. This is going to be your official indoctrination.
Now, when are you getting them those?
As we can. I mean, they're limited edition, so I'm buying as many of them as I can. You know the number I need to get it. So expect a little bit out at Christmas. Because I'm buying them myself. I know y'all think I got these YouTube millions, but I ain't really dealing with the change like that. But I'm gonna buy them as I can go to those, especially the first 65 that are in there. They're all gonna get it because I just think that, you know what I mean, with pain and suffering comes a lot. So you've already made your money back 10 times with precious metals. You're hedging, and that's why we call it the big hedge. But I wanted everybody to see that. I thought that was so live. Now, woo! Man, Lord, jeez. I hope y'all are doing well, TGIF. I hope you guys are all gang, gang, gang. To all my haters out there, hello. And all my family out there, salute. So would you please, extra special, beautiful lady, the wind beneath my wing? Because I'm the wind beneath your wings. I make it like happen. Like, you know.
I am April Beebe.
And aren't you going to ask who I am?
I think I know who you are.
You ain't heard of me?
I know you.
But you ain't heard of me, though.
I've heard of you, too.
Have they heard of me?
Of course. They wouldn't be here if they hadn't heard of
Do
you.
they think they know what I'm finna do right now?
Screaming, hollering?
Yeah, so tell them they better turn their mother trucking TVs down. I'm about to give a big one tonight.
Ooh, go ahead.
Turn your devices down. I'm giving you a warning.
Who are you?
Me and Daisy, okay? We're first gang, gang, gang. And second of all, I am Mr. Brando!
Daisy Howe, too. Oh,
and that's Daisy, and welcome to the status of the reinstatement of the Iraqi Dinar. So much news, so much news, so much news.
You got some good news?
I got some good news.
You got some bangers?
I got some bangers.
I need you to bring it.
What if I tell you this? I got Uncle Luke on here going to explain because I verified this little formula. Uncle Luke say, you know, he got a little formula. He could figure out a number to help you get closer to what your goals and your dreams are. Now, I'm not going to say it's a rate because I don't believe in rates. I don't believe in dates. Not on this platform.
You don't believe in rates and dates?
No, not on this platform, no. Because you're under too much scrutiny. People, you know what I mean? Right here, they're a little bit too hard for me.
Okay.
But Pempe is going to get on here. He's going to give you guys the formulation of what he's come up with based upon some historical data and based upon some paperwork that is going to give you an idea of where you are in the investment. Is that fair enough to say?
Fair enough.
Okay. I was almost going to name this video the formula, but instead I named it the seating of the cabinet. And the reason why I named this the seating of the cabinet, because there's so much news prevalent out there right now. And I think you guys are like me. You want to see policy and you want to see commitment. Commitment is the laws. The policy is like it's like the promise. You know what I'm saying? The law is the commitment to those things. You see what I'm saying? So we want to see laws. We want to see arrests. We want to see corruption handled. But more than anything else, we want to see the government seated so we can see what's going to happen next. I think that is a huge indicator into what you're going to see and how you're going to feel. You know what I'm saying? Ear. Yeah, you better get ear. Now, GE is poised for significant power orders in Iraq after U.S. push. I guess a lot of people got to realize and understand that keeping cool in the summertime is so essential. It's so necessary. And in Iraq, where it hits the areas of 120 plus, 115 plus.
Oh, I can imagine.
Could you imagine all that dry heat? We just came from a very hot, humid place, and it was.
We came from Vegas and came back here to even more heat. I mean, yeah, we haven't gotten a break.
Multi-million-dollar contracts for rebuild their electrical system works. In a WARE project, Siemens in April, however, Iraqi Prime Minister said the German company was well placed to win the bulk of the future deals. It's very important that they use these future deals to facilitate the coolness in Iraq because that is so important. The governor of the central bank on Thursday, the relationship between the citizens and the banking sector is good because the citizens get banking services smoothly. They only get banking services smoothly, Mr. Alak, when A, you have currency out there that is readily available. So you can't have a shortage on currency. Number two, you don't give mixed emotions about what the banking sector is for. I mean that you don't charge super high interest rates and then tell the citizens they need banking inclusion and don't educate them on what the benefits of paying back loans are. Number three, you got to remember that inclusion is the only real thing left. I think it's what the citizens are holding out for. Now, I think a lot of people are also confused and think the citizens are going to somehow realize a reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar on the level as a person like you or I who's an investor. Remember this, if you live in Iraq, a dinar is a dinar, right? So you're not going to look up and say, well, dang, you know, today I got 40 million dinars. No, today I have dinars. You see what I'm saying? Those dinars purchase things. Those purchase orders are to coincide with the inflationary measures and the economy of the country you live within. So I think that people got to understand that. And so that people in Iraq don't understand what a reinstatement is. They don't care. Now, people that live outside of Iraq, when you get to Iran, when you get to Afghanistan, when you get to UAB or UAE, I talked to someone from Syria today, and all they talked about was the reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar. So it's not just what's going on in local commerce, but I think people got to understand that people that are in local commerce don't know what you know. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like you don't know when the dollar devalues. You don't know when the dollar increases. You know now because you're educated. You're woke to that subject. But for the most part, I grew up my whole life thinking a dollar was just a dollar. Okay? Now, the participants expressed their readiness to continue communication towards achieving these important goals in the coming stage and thank the association's team in the region for holding workshops and seminars continuously within the region. Sources reveal Mahdi intends to resolve before Wisdom Kurdistan. A source in the Kurdistan Democratic Party, the reason for the absence of Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi to Erbil to congratulate a new leadership in the region. The source who preferred to be named, not to be named, you know that's kind of BS. When people say, I don't want to be named, you got to kind of think, I don't really care about that. The visit may be delayed until the waiting for the announcement of the new Kurdistan government headed by Barzani, pleased. And the first agreement in the file is the oil and the send 250,000 barrels. Remember, that is part of their budget is for the Kurds to send the $250,000, the 250,000 barrels, excuse me. That's important to the funding of the budget, which aids and supplies a money supply to the regions. And so when Kurdistan holds out from those things, I don't think people understand the magnitude of what that means. You see what I'm saying? What they're saying basically is that, you know, a big FU to Iraq, we're not going to do say, but I think what everybody has to understand is that we need for them to comply and come to some type of agreements, because with those agreements come a continuity, a symbolism of togetherness, all these things that we need to see for Iraq to flourish and for them to hold true for the time being, okay? So we want to see that happen. The federal budget law of 2019 provides a deduction of the amount of damage caused by the failure of delivery of oil. I just told you guys that. In this regard, the parliament decides to intend to take quick measures not to exceed a week against Kurdistan because the refusal of the latter to hand over oil imports to the federal government, according to the member of the Finance Committee, Parliamentary Najiz Radiz, which revealed in his committee to prepare a report to be presented to the presidency of Parliament. Now, remember, the Kurds agreed to do these things. And so part of the federal budget law said that they needed to do those things. They haven't done what they needed to do, which is not good, but they're doing it now. So we're all good. Do you have a question?
It seems like there would be many thousands who have no money at all or very little. What happens to them with the government start providing them with income?
Think of it as your own social security system or your own, what do you call that when you get like money from the government, like a check? Entitlements, not entitlements, that's the wrong word, but assistance, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That, you know, think of it like United States providing a check for someone that maybe is out of work, or, you know, maybe they don't give them like $1 million, but they give them some money to sustain a quality of life through housing and food supplements and stuff like that. Think of it along those terms.
Okay.
It's not so finite.
And then this subscriber asked, what's the deal in the RV now? Are we waiting for 2020?
Not at all. That's why I'm reading the news.
Okay.
No, we're not waiting for anything. I tell everybody, and I'm not trying to be mean to any newbies out there, but what you're waiting for is a bunch of benchmarks to be met. Once those benchmarks are met, then you will see a reinstatement of the dinar as a whole. Now, how do you know that that's not happened? Because you haven't seen a reinstatement yet, right? It goes hand in hand. You can't have Article 8 and then not have a reinstatement. You can't have an HCL law and the citizens don't get paid.
Right.
So you got to understand where you are. And if you don't know where you are in the investment, you got to go back about 8 videos. I mean, not even the whole thing. Don't go back 6 months. Just go back 8 videos.
For this particular subscriber, they kind of pop in and out.
And just to be real with them, this is not a pop in and out channel. It's kind of like if I did just the new speed Reddit for someone to be like, oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. If you don't get an interpretation of it to know where you are, most of these guys don't know where they can get currency from, let alone, and that's my newbie group. I love them for that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I have nothing bad to say against that. They want to know, hey, where can I buy a safe place to buy my? So if they don't know that, how are they going to understand policy?
Right.
So that's a little bit different group. Okay. Now, the 2019 budget law, there's an analysis out there. I can give it to Ms. Beebe to put it out there. It talks about spending on energy, security, and defense, as well as social services remain a priority ahead of other sectors. Notably, the state planned spending on capital projects will grow by 32%. Now, if you guys don't remember from the Facebook Live, not only did they pass a law this week about talking about state projects, but once a project is implemented and once a project is actually kicked off, they actually launched laws that hold those project people and those projects accountable for the money they use and spend. So now you just don't go out there and say, well, hey, I'm Mr. Brando and I'm Ms. Beebe's cousin, even though he's a state senator, and I need to get my money for the project so I can run off with it, right? Now there's laws, there's accountability for those things, which adds to the corruption. And when you can take away from corruption and limit it, then that's when you start to actually see headway. And how you know those things are happening? Don't believe me. You can look at these naysayers, but Ernst & Young this week just came out with a report. They gave Iraq a satisfactory audit that said they were being transparent and above board in their procedures. So don't blame me. You want to say, well, until the corruption's gone from Iraq, that's bull. Corruption will never be gone from any government or any society anywhere. As long as you have mankind involved, there will be corruption. You see what I'm saying? But once you start to limit the corruption and corral it and understand that it's there, then you can go forward because then you know how to combat it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when these people tell you that until Iran's gone, nothing will happen, don't listen to them. They know what they're talking about. And I'll tell you how they know what they're talking about, because Iraq and Iran is kind of like telling me that people from Louisiana will never be in Texas. See what I'm saying? People from Louisiana will never be in Texas. Whoa, they're neighbors. What's our neighbor to the left? Arizona? Does anybody know?
No, New Mexico.
Okay, so people from New Mexico will never be in Texas.
And then to the
or Oklahoma.
Side,
yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I mean, side is Louisiana.
Exactly. There's always going to be people in the region co-inhabiting the region, especially if they do business or have family
or circumstance.
Think about this. You could have a person born in Iran, their mother and father live in Iraq. That could very well happen. Mm-hmm. Matak is not from Iraq and he lives in Iraq. His wife's Iranian. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make her a bad person or him a good person. Just saying they're not from the region but live in Iraq. You see what I'm saying?
I get it.
So people they get that mixed up. Well, until Iran's completely gone. Well, until Hispanics are completely gone from America, then the wall will be built. Never happened. Never happened. That's ignorant thinking. Okay? Stop that stinking thinking. Okay? They're talking about it remains to be seen, therefore, whether all the allocations of the budget for reconstruction and for the key sectors will change in the coming months. However, their issues are resolved and have profound effect on the future confederation of the Iraqi federalism. Federalism is very important. We need to see, okay, so Sabeh al-Khalili said Tuesday that Iraq can cancel the security agreement with the U.S. side and remove its troops from its territory, pointing out the terms of agreement did not specify time to an end, but gave the parties agreed to exit the agreement. Now, I'm going to say this is an article for Iraqis that are pro-nationalists. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. This is something for those people to reach out and say, well, we don't want you there. You won't be there. But you got to remember, if you kick the United States out, which is your whole infrastructure for your country right now, you kick out basically the lawlessness, you kick out the terrorists, you keep the terrorist gangs away, they keep them safe and warm. So, yeah, that's really great rhetoric to hear on YouTube for me to say safe and warm. You like that, don't you? Quincy, right? Yeah. But in reality is if the United States leaves that region, just another person such as a Russia goes in there or a China goes in there and it gets 20 times worse. Not because the gangs, because remember, in China, they don't believe in protesting. You protest in China, they kill you. So China goes into Iraq and takes it over. There's protesting. We don't like the way you did it. We just shoot you. You're dead. And then they erase that from all their historical values. You see what I'm saying? So you want America to stay there because they give them the semblance of democracy. And democracy is and capitalism is what's going to carry them from being a rentier state to a donor state. It's a totally different mentality. When you get off the idea that the state's going to take care of you and that, this person's going to help me and this is going to make me better. I'm going to borrow, I'm going to beg, and I'm going to steal. But you get off of those measures to where we're going to make our own money, we're going to do our own things, we're going to create our own policy. That's where sovereignty really takes effect. And that's the difference between a sovereign state and a state that has a collusive government. And basically what's not there in a lot of ways, I mean, not in Iraq, but I'm saying not in a lot of places, not just in local government, but in national governments everywhere.
Mr. Brando, is it possible Iraq will use the Kuwaiti model? The government helps the citizens find work in Kuwait. If the government can't find a job for a citizen, they give them 200 KD per month until employed.
I believe so. Yeah, it's kind of like, think of the whole. I don't want to use the word welfare system here, but if you have unemployment, right, and let's say you can't get a job for whatever reason, the United States government comes in and they give you a stipend, right? They give you something to keep you well. Now, it may not keep you in your $400,000 house or your new Mercedes Benz, but it's enough to keep you eating and keep you housed and clothed and stuff like that.
And that's kind of how unemployment works in California. You get about $500 a week.
Uh-huh.
It's not a lot of money, especially for California, but you get about $2K a month until you're able to find employment. And basically, the individuals put into it via the state taxes.
Right. So you pay into it via whether you work or don't work or whatever. And that helps to subsidize the people that don't work.
Like while you're working, like here we don't have state taxes.
Now the failure in that model is this, and I think Kuwait and some other countries do it a little bit better. The failure in that model is this: it's not socialism. You're not on the government tip till you want to get a job or whatever. They only give you so much time with that stipend, and then you're expected to go work and contribute like everybody else. You're not on it forever, and that's where our economy fails because we have too many people sucking from it.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying sucking from it in that way. I'm just saying there's a group of people out there that maybe don't work that could.
Well, I mean, I guess it varies from state to state because the state of California, if you put nothing in the unemployment system, you will not get an unemployment check. And based on your highest quarters, that's what you'll get paid. And then after you've tapped out after 6 months to a year, then it's a wrap. So
there you go. So that answers that question, right?
Yeah. And then one of my coworkers said that there are different tier levels and the RV has already happened for them. They also said the exchange is being done based on the tier level you're on.
Okay, then tell them to call me.
No, they said that she's asking, is that true?
No, that is absolute false. That is absolutely the holy grail of crap that I've ever heard from not just that person, because I don't know them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that. But there's no tier levels. There's no hierarchy to your exchange. There's no first, second, third runs. There's no such thing as double dipping. There's no such thing as 800 numbers. There's no such thing as, what's the other thing? Exchange centers. Those are places that are made up by people that don't know what the heck they're talking about. I said, heck, y'all give me credit. I'm not cussing because I really want to go smooth off.
No, you don't have to go off. This people trying to understand.
Yeah. And I'm trying to tell them this. They've heard that, so they're regurgitating it from some other platform.
Well, she's asking the question. She's not. No,
No, not her. I'm just saying I hear it everywhere.
Oh, okay.
I get it from people that know me, that know I don't believe in that send it to me anyway.
Because here's the thing: there's some of us that are in this investment, and we're not geopolitical savvy,
right?
So that's why we tune into Mr. Brando to debunk what we're hearing.
Right. And Mr. Brando's job is to embrace you and tell you you're okay. It's not you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's what you heard. And my job is to tell you that, look, A, there are no tiers to an exchange. Now, if you want to say there's tiers, then you're talking ultra wealthy. I'm talking about people like countries, kings, queens, maybe those people. But to tell me because you hold a few 100,000 or a few 100 million dinar, you're on some special plane that you or I are not privy to, that is absolute crap, and no one can prove it to me. And if they can prove it to me, simply call in, show me your paperwork, and I'll agree to it. Or I won't agree to it because I'll just send it to someone that I know that can read that jargon and will debunk it. It is absolute false. And I will prove it wrong every time. Now, the financial invasion with respect to income and capital taxes between the government of the Republic of Iraq, the government of the United Arab Emirates. Okay, so this is important right here. The House of Representatives finished reading 6 bills. The Council concluded the second reading of the draft law on the ratification of conventions on avoidance of double taxation, prevention of financial evasion, and respect to income and capital taxes between the government of the Republic and the government of the United Arab Emirates. So what they're basically telling you there is you're going to pay certain taxes. One to the United Emirates, one to the Republic of Iraq, another to the conventions if you have those, and you're going to be a part of a taxation system. If you look at that, what do you say? Well, that's not fair or right. Well, you got to understand that it's right because you live in Iraq. It's like your tax. You live in America, there's tax, right? Mm-hmm. Part of the privilege of living there is that you pay those taxes when you can. So that way, you know what I'm saying? It fulfills the second part of the budget, which is not the oil revenues, right? The governor of the central bank on Thursday, the relationship between the citizens and the banking sector is good because the citizens get banking services smoothly. Ali Al-Laq said during the meeting, I think I read this one already. Okay, Vice Presidents of Republic ministers are responsible for their functions before the President of the Republic. He has the right to bring any of them to trial according to the rules. Okay, so this is what I wanted to read you guys. This is very important. This was raised for vote on Saturday. The council held its 23rd session under the chairmanship of Halabusi, where he voted on Hamid Naim Ghazani, Secretary General of the Council of Ministers, and Mahul Abdul Rida, the Director of Prime Minister's Offices, said that the council is continuing to end the file the administration of joints of the state by proxy and abide by Article 58 of the budget law for the current year. So if you don't know what the budget law for the current year is, that is where the ministers are responsible for the functions before the President of the Republic. He has the right to bring any of them to trial to the rules of the Constitution for the function errors committed by him, exploiting the authority, or misusing it. What does that sound like? That sounds like now, if you guys remember that on Facebook, I told you that, remember they kicked basically Maliki out of the party. Now they have a law in place, which is Article 58, that says, hey, if we find you at fault for wrongdoing, we can prosecute you. So when I see people telling me, that, well, until Maliki's gone, well, you got to put the laws in place that when they can be kicked out, they'll be kicked out forever. You see what I'm saying? It's not just kicking them out, it's kicking them out forever. That is a bomb, and that is huge. The House of Representatives is scheduled to hold a regular session on 11 a.m. on Thursday to discuss laws, the law of private factories, and voting on the form of a resolution on the termination of the Council of Commissions of the formation of communications, commissions of voting. Well, this is just a bunch of crap. Of tax laws, just forget it. Iran is currently receiving electricity exports to Iraq in two currency, one being the NAR, one being the euro. That's one reason why I'm not worried about Iran, because they can't spend either. You see what I'm saying? So Iran their power is diminishing. I've been screaming for years that Maliki's power is diminishing. It just didn't happen. This has been in play for a few years now, and now you're starting to see the sharp end of the spear coming down his throat. I love it. That is a bomb. I need my sound effects.
Someone asked, Mr. Brando, what is your take on having a wealth manager and being part of the gang?
Well, first of all, having a wealth manager is, I think, as part of the infrastructure of your wealth management is key. Kind of like you're my wealth manager, right? You're an accountant. You know the things basically to do to make sure that the household runs correctly. Now, I think when it gets more specialized, that you'll probably employ people, or you will employ people that will do more of the things that you're not an expertise in, right?
Right.
Now, being a part of the crew is when you say, I have this much money left to play with, right? So you've got your budget, you've allocated everything to your budget, you've paid yourself, you've paid your bills, you have your normal budget, your normal investments like your ETFs and your retirements and your gold and your silver purchases, and you say, look, I got 30% left. What the gang does, or what the Pateron crew does, or what the Kangaroo crew does, shout out to my crew all day long, what they do is they sit back and they're a think tank, much like a capital management system, and say, this is what we're going to invest our money in. Large institutional buying, the preservation of our wealth, so we're going to hedge it against precious metals. We do certain things, and we talk about it, and we just recently came up with a hotline that we're going to have meetings on Thursdays probably, if not just for a little bit, maybe 20, 30 minutes, but for, an hour, developing infrastructure, where we're going to buy, what we're going to do. These are things that the Wealth Club does for the preservation of wealth. Once you get wealthy, I don't want to get wealthy and get broke. I want to get wealthy and stay wealthy.
Right.
Okay.
Have your money make money for you.
At least 4 to 7 different ways. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Pompeo called a body this week, told them that they were just, importance of developing a bilateral relations and continued cooperation in all fields, foremost of which is economic cooperation and counterterrorism. That is important. Staying with the counterterrorism is an important factor, because what it does is it allows everybody to stay in check. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nominations of Interior Minister and Defense. I already told you guys this. Remember, now you got to read between the lines on these next couple articles. There are leaks and information that Abdul Mahdi wants to appoint 2 ministers of Interior and Defense from their sons by virtue of the agency. Now, what they mean by their sons, not their sons, but what they came from, what birthed them. One was the anti-terrorism group, and one was a division of the military. Those names are Assadi, which I told you guys. The minister will be Janabi, who is currently the undersecretary of the Minister of Police. Remember, counterterrorism, countercorruption is what they're hiring these people to do. You see what I'm saying? So we know these names. So think about this. We've known these names and we've known these names ever since like January, right? Don't you think those people could be put in place?
Gee, oh my gosh. So we're back on the wealth manager.
Uh-huh.
James Braun says, my brother-in-law is a wealth manager for a bank and he's dumb as a wedge. He says the bank has all the investments set up. He doesn't do anything but collect the percentages they charge the customer.
Okay, well, see, that's the difference between talking to like a wealth manager at like, let's say Chase Bank, your local Chase Bank, and then going like, let's say like a Howard Payne, or going to a Charles Schwab, or going to a brokerage house, or going to a commodities house, or going to a person that specializes in ETFs. There's a difference between that guy and your brother-in-law at the bank. I mean, I'm qualified to do what your brother at the bank does. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't do it. What I'm talking about is I'm talking about where millionaires go. You know what I'm saying?
I like to look, everything's based on what a person has done as far as performance. So if a wealth manager calls himself that, I want to see their portfolio that they manage and how it's performed. That's it.
Great point. The Central Bank of Iraq on Wednesday, the completion of the internal audit of Ernst & Young. Now, this is the best part of this whole article. The board of directors of the bank has approved these lists, which were issued with a positive opinion without reservation, which indicates the level of transparency under which the bank operates, the efforts made in presenting the activities and operations, and the level of disclosure, and this institution has done this. I will leave that just where it's at right there. That is huge. That is huge. Ernst & Young tells them they have a level of transparency, but even based upon the functionality of the auction. So that means that there must be some type of play in place right now to not only either convene the auctions the way they are, but change the way they do business, stop them altogether, or make it somewhere it's not some messed up free-for-all for the crooks to steal money from, okay? Japan had hopes of having some type of intervention between U.S. and Iran. Now, this is a little dong talk, so I'm going to interrupt it real quick. So if you don't like dong, tune out for 2 seconds. I don't want to see a quick resolution between the United States, Iran, the United States, and China. Does that make sense?
You don't want to see a quick.
I don't.
Why don't you want to see a quick resolution?
Because I think part of the reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar is limiting to what Iran can do. So even though we know Iran has a bunch of dinar, I think the U.S. is going to intervene somehow. And when they allow the reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar to go through, it's going to hurt Iran. It's not going to help them. You see what I'm saying? Just like I want to see them prolong the negotiations with China, because I want to see China get squeezed and the development of trade agreements between Malaysia, especially Vietnam. Big on Viet. I can't say that on here no more. Anyway, the idea is that I'm big on those things. Now, the Iran conflict, I want to see it at least stretch out past the month. And the reason for that is because, A, you got the deal of the century coming through there. I want to see more of the region displeased with Iran, especially with the attack of those tankers that no one's claiming. And I want to see the isolation further continue. So that's major. Okay.
Quick question, Mr. Brando. How does the global financial crisis impact Dinar RV? Would it not impact the timing? Kind of what you were talking about. Okay.
Yeah. I think if you're talking about a global crash, I see that maybe a little bit further off. But what you're going to happen is you're going to have to be able to take your finances and put them in areas that will protect it against a currency explosion. Does that make sense? So if there was a complete meltdown, what did you put your money into that was basically safeguarded or saved, right? That's what we talk about in the Kangaroo Group. That's on Patreon. Tanker explosion, everything you need to know. embedded three reasons to invest in Baghdad. One, it's the Iraqi's largest city and second largest in the Arab world. It's vibrant metropolis with a strategic location and a talented young population. Things that we've all talked about several times here. A business-friendly environment driven by the Iraqi government, which is a plug by them. But I get it, right? I get it. During a meeting which attended by the number of members of Parliamentary and the Finance Committee and the members of the advisory of the Agency of Ministry of Finance and Planning discussed several key pillars in the position of the general budget, including determining the cost of extracting oil per barrel and expanding the export capacities and taking into account the activation of the local market and the movement of local capital. On the other hand, the exchange rate policy and the monetary policy strategy of the central bank were discussed. Now, my question is this: why are all these talks about 1190? You see what I'm saying? There's no discussion of 1190. We know the rate. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to involve the central bank and two planning committees and this and this. Something's coming down the pipeline, whether you want to believe it or not, that's going to have a good effect on the Iraqi dinar as far as a reinstatement. You want me to go on record as saying that? I will say it. Number two, you don't have all these discussions, all these printed advertisements, all these printed articles about the stability against the dollar to the Iraqi dinar. If there wasn't some type of change that needed help, or a depeg. If they depeg from the dollar, which I think everybody needs to understand, when they depeg from the dollar and attach their dinar to the SDR basket, life will change. Okay, so even if they don't use a free floating economy, which we would love to see, if they pegged it to the actual SDR, there's safeguards against that to where the actual currency can go and what it will be worth. Okay, the launch of electronic travel cards, we've talked about that. The travel cards, remember, the cards will also provide additional benefits to its holders, including the purchase of the dollar at 1,200 dinars and safety during travel. So when you guys saw that thing that I did the video about the whole the hotel thing, it's still at 1,200 to 1, which is good. Don't get me wrong. Not good in the fact of the rate, but it's good that a company out there is willing to accept dinars as a payment. Now, my whole thing is they either want those Iraqis to either apply for their credit card, which I've come to find that they have, or that they're using their Visa or MasterCard as a payment. Because remember, if they pay in Visa or MasterCard, they're not actually paying in dinars. You see, they're paying in Visa or MasterCard. Right. So don't get that confused either. Focus on the negative generates impression that everything in Iraq is ruined. I think that's true, and that was what Akeem talked about the other day. I keep getting these questions all the time too. Is PM Mahandi going to resign? No, there will be no vote of no confidence because if you understand it like I do, the government's done. There's no vote of no confidence. Sadr and the rest of these guys it's not Sadr. The rest of the Iraqi media can put out whatever they want about certain things, but about Mahandi, that is not true. Okay, now this is the part. The auction of the foreign currency, which is carried out by the Central Bank of Iraq, cannot be relied upon in the floating of currency, and it's one of the most serious mistakes in the history of the Iraqi economy. What did that just tell you right there?
Tell me one more time. I'm sorry. Pimpay. Responded to Pimpay. Sorry. I'm multitasking. Don't do that. So don't have that crickets anymore. So tell me again. Tell me again. I'm here with you.
I'll read it one more time. The auction of the Pimpay, shut up. The auction of the foreign currency, which is carried out by the Central Bank of Iraq, cannot be relied upon in the floating of currency is one of the most serious mistakes in the history of Iraq. Now, it says the Central Bank of Iraq to auction the huge wrong currency in the history of Iraq, noting that the auction of the currency does not benefit. Wait a minute, I missed this. Oh, here it is. Cannot be relied upon in the floating currency and is one of the most serious mistakes. Floating.
That they need to stop the auction.
So they can what? Float the currency.
Right. So they're going to come in with a rate.
Exactly.
See, I'm smart. I'm smart. I'm smart. I'm smart.
Daisy. Barzani intends to end the oil file. He's going to send that oil. Okay, now here's something very interesting. The reason why I put this in there, parliamentary sources said Thursday that 3 vice deputies were sworn in the House of Representatives. A source said in an interview with the Andaman Kanan was sworn in constitutional deputy instead of MP Bahani Irshad. Khalid Rashid Rasho was sworn in as deputy instead of Mahim Swafor. And Muhammad Fairman Shamir was sworn in as deputy. The House Thursday, the 23rd. Now listen, if they could vote those people in and nobody knew about it unless it was in print, they could have definitely had those ministers in place and no one thought a second thing of it. U.S. imposes sanctions on Iraq-based affiliate IRGC. Mahdi will choose candidates for the ministers if they aren't chosen. Sauter's demanding the surrender of 8 people under his, 4 people under his group. I think it's 4-8. Hold on here. It's actually 6. He wants their paperwork turned over to the Integrity Commission because he wants to have them prosecuted or either that or cleared. So even Sauter's getting on the corruption gang. Parliament ends the reading of the 8 laws and proceeds with the law of federal court. We talked about that. Dawa leaders plan to throw out Maliki. I told you that. I also told you that watch for Interpol. We know because we've talked to these different agencies. And I'm not just saying that like some stupid guru. I hate that. It says, but I've talked to several people that have been involved in world security that have said that their files are coming out in Iraq. And there's going to be a big name that comes out. A big name. Not just the secretary of Baghdad, but a bigger name. And I believe it's going to be Maliki. They never said Maliki, but I believe Maliki. And that's why the Dawa party threw him out. I looked up Kahim Faree. He's was an Arab general who played a role in leading Muslim conquest. He was among a handful of Kashir. Okay, that was about this guy that Mahdi intends to assign Janibi and Gahani. I told you about Gahani. It's Interior. I was wrong about the Department of Defense, I think. And that's it, y'all. That's the whole news. That's all of it. I hope that if Pimpe is still watching, he can call me and at least give an explanation about the formula that he's discovered so that we can talk about that for the last 20 minutes. It's all great news. It's all very good stuff. And you got to realize that because they don't say the words, we're going to reinstate, we're doing this, the lower denominations haven't dropped, it doesn't mean that it's not in play. It just means that it hasn't happened yet. Okay? I'm waiting for Pimpe. And like a clock, he's right on time. What's up, Uncle Luke?
What is going on, peeps?
Man, Pete, man, you broke the internet the other day.
My bad.
I know, right? Like he breaks the internet, and then he comes.
I want to partially pass the blame to Mr. B because he said in this group you can put anything. And I said, okay, so I put it in there. Okay, so this is what everybody's asking about. I'm sure some of you were able to see, some of you were able to capture. So just so you guys kind of get an idea of what had happened. You know, I will watch different people's videos. I will read different people's posts. I will do whatever. One guy was mentioning something about these rules that were set back in 2013 by the IMF that Iraq had to follow. And I remember these are the ones that we talked about. But I also remember there was a more updated version of it, just so you guys know. I started going through the 2017 version talking about how they had 2 more at the time. They needed 2 more audits. They needed to pass. As you guys are well aware, the 3rd one was just completed and Iraq did pass. There was a lot of good things written by Ernst & Young, and I think Mr. B talked about this earlier. So this is a good thing. But there was some in there with some stipulations, and I think we posted that in the group, and I think it stayed there, about, these things needed to be handled. While we know ISIS is gone, they were worried about the influence of Iran on Iraq, which I think we've seen that they're cutting ties now. Whether it's enough or not, we hope so. They needed to fill all the cabinet members. The whole government had to be up and functioning. We all of a sudden are seeing a major push for this, so this is good. Also, they had to implement the laws to protect the money, the anti-counterfeiting, the other, the CDL. Those had to be passed and put into place. Plus, they wanted them to do something about the people that were corrupt. this is where you were talking, I believe, the last video you mentioned something about Interpol, right? Coming in and cleaning the house on like about 600 people.
Right, 641 people or something like that.
So that obviously that's being done. Okay, just for those of you who are not aware who Interpol is, they're like even more intense than the CIA. I kind of hesitate to say it because the CIA is kind of tough. But Interpol is the last people you really want on your butt. Okay, the fact that Interpol is even involved should tell you a lot. The one thing that's not being mentioned that I'm curious to see who it is, if they mention it at all, is where it is that there's a pretty big name person that they're going to be rounding up to once they get into the clean house. So really, what are we waiting for as far as everything is concerned? Well, is it the 4 seats that's remaining now? Okay, and what do we see in the last few postings that somebody put their foot down and said that this will be done, I believe, by the 18th. Is that the word?
The 18th or the 20th is the word. That is the absolute gospel.
Now, Bethany's been really good about posting these articles. I see them, and then I see her posting them in the group. So kudos to Bethany. But there's like a 3-day span of these meetings, and I'm talking about the cabinet members and plus the parliament members, like 100 and some plus people have been there every day, and it tells you all the things they're talking about. And 3 consecutive days in there, it said they're also talking about the exchange rate. So it's obviously being discussed right now heavily. You know what I mean? So and I feel really good that, it's obviously getting ready to happen. There's a lot of other little things that are happening. There's a lot of big things that's happened over the last couple of months. Okay, so to the rate thing. So what happened was, as I was going through there, it kept talking about the Arab accounting dinar, and I thought, oh, that's weird. I wanted to do some research on it, figure out what that is. When I went in there, it talks about a type of formula, so you can kind of get an idea of what the Iraqi dinar rate would be. But here's the thing: it's mentioned by a few different people over a 5-year span. So I found this kind of formula, and I feel good about that because there's more than one person talk about it. Everybody's got their small little version of it, but it's basically the same. So what they're saying is this: you have the Arab accounting dinar. Okay, so none of the dinars can ever be higher than the Arab accounting dinar. I said, okay, so what is the Arab accounting dinar? Well, it's calculated this way. It's 2.5 times the SDR number, which is, as you know, the special drawing rights. That rate is set every day. As it stands right now, it's at $1.38. So you just take 2.5 times $1.38, and it will get you within a few cents of what the Iraqi dinar is. Just so you guys know, which I think I said it was like $3.48 is about where it's going to be. Now, there are other little things that play into the rate. It just depends on how strong the GDP is, what kind of inflation's going on. As we all know, the inflation level's low. The GDP is growing at 6% this year. It'll be up around 11 next year. So in other words, the number, it could actually be higher. So it's just to be on the conservative side. We're probably looking at about 348, 346, somewhere around there. Now, again, that's just a formula, and it's an estimation of where it would be. We just know it can't be higher than the Arab accounting dinar, but it could be just as high. So that's what we're looking at. That is the formula for it. So it's the Arab accounting dinar, which is the 2.5 times the SDR rate. So if you take the SDR rate again, which is at $1.38, and just multiply it times 2.5, that should give you an idea of what your rate is. You know what I mean?
And you got to also understand this too about that. What it also suggests is that the currency is going to float, right? So they're going to start. Let's say for a crazy, I don't like to use this number, but they use Pempe's formula to reinstate the currency. They know that they're going to float it. Now, how high it can go or how low it can go is only basically 2% of a fixated number. So this application does not apply to Vietnam. In Vietnam, there's no Arab dinar, right? So that number, you can't come out and say that Vietnam is the same thing. It's going to be a different set of circumstances for a different set of places, okay? But what you can say is that if you know it's going to reinstate and then float, then you're looking at a nice windfall if it all does come to pass like that, which it looks very, very promising on Pepe's research. Does that mean it's going to happen? I can't say that. But I can also say that Pempe's done his diligence on this one, and it looks like it's pretty sound and sure is what he's saying.
I feel very, very confident with that number. And this is about where we heard this rumor many times. And that rumor is, they expect the dinar to be reinstated at least pre-war levels. If that's the case, I think 386 was the rate pre-war. I don't think it's going to go up that high. But there are things that can affect the Arabic county dinar, which is, as the more trades are being offered over in the Arab nations, which we see more interaction between them, gold, oil, all those types of things start to increase. That all helps out that whole formula. But, I think to say about 348, around that ballpark, give or take, 10 cents swinging either way, is a very safe number, to be honest with you.
Okay, so a gentleman named Mr. Smith says, what do you think the U.S. position is on the RI? Does U.S. Treasury hold billions of dinar, and do you think Iraq has all their ducks in a row to do this by the end of June? Mr. Smith, I'll answer that like this.
We talked about that.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
The idea is large institutions bought the dinar, from what I understand, and I'll say this 100 times from my friend, that it was for a derivative to be used in the Silk Road. Okay, so the reason why the large institutions bought it for that, because they're going to use fractional banking to make their money back. Now, is it a crazy way to do it? Yes, but they need billions upon trillions of dollars to build that Silk Road. The dinar will provide a platform that will allow that to happen based upon fractional banking. Now, do I think that they have everything done to get this done by June? I can't answer that because I don't know. I'm not a soothsayer. I don't hold a ball. A lot of you guys want to hear that, but I can't answer that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to answer
how many times have we said, you know what? Look, everything is in place. What is the holdup? We tried to guess, like in April, I would have bet an arm and a leg that it was going to happen, and it didn't. There's one thing or there was another. But that's just it. That's the problem with dealing with Iraq. As you know, now we have the issue going on in Iran. Not that Iraq is part of it, but it's just the fact that it's so close to them. That could be another excuse for a slight delay. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying there's always some little thing that pops up or another.
Hold on. Wabi Asabi is quoting President Trump. And he said this here today. And the only reason why I watched this because I was watching while I was eating breakfast, talking about PM Mahdi going over there to have his meeting with Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Is he over? No, you got to understand there's no deal that can be made.
What did he say?
He said it was too soon. And it was not, it was too fast for anybody to go over there and try to make any deals with the Iranian people.
Oh no! After they bomb these oil tankers, look. Here's the thing: Trump does not want a war, but he does want to find a stupid excuse to at least bomb those nuclear facilities.
Hold on,
Just
Pimp.
like he did in Syria. Go ahead.
Hold on. Oh man, let me see.
I should probably put him on there.
Hello.
Uh-oh. Pimpe, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay.
I tried to add Jason. I think he had some news to add, and it wouldn't let me add him real quick. So if Jason calls back.
There's a lot of people talking about is America invested in the dinar?
Yes.
Big time. Because before, or as soon as we went to war, for those of you who don't know this, the Bush family grabbed, tons, talking about billions of dollars worth of dinars, and they knew that in the future that it would change in value and that the war would actually pay for itself via the dinar. That's funny that they don't share this information with all Americans, and we're like, oh, we're paying all this money for war. But this is a constant formula for people we do go to war with, which is almost makes you think, oh, geez, a plan it could be. But whether or not you think that's real, I'm just saying that the Bush family went over and swooped up a ton of dinars. Now, here's something that you might like.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hello, Jason?
Maybe. Hey, there we go.
Okay. So finish your thought, Pepe, real quick. I'll get Jason on the phone.
So people are going like, oh, America's the best. Yes, we are. Bush took care of that. Not Bush 1, Bush 2. They grabbed a ton of them. That's a fact. That's known. It sits on our books. So as soon as the revaluation happens, they have full intentions on using that money that they got from Iraq to repay us. Now, here's the thing I don't like. You know, we're paying for all these taxes and stuff. You would think they would apply that towards our overall national deficit. Of course they don't. They just hide it and keep the money. But it's true. They are currently holding, you know, trillions of dollars worth of dinar. So,
okay.
yeah, we benefit from that.
Okay, Jason, what you have to say, bro? What's going on with you, man? Greetings from Guam.
Yeah. Good morning. No, Pimpy's right. Remember, that even goes all the way back. If you read every line by the 13303, there's an insurance policy based also with the currency that everybody holds in the United States.
Uh-huh.
You know, which is a brilliant thing.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. The executive order.
We're all vested, you know, heavily in this. So, you know, that's a great thing.
Right.
I could see a scenario playing out here. Why there would be an incentive for Trump to want the dinar rate to change, other than the obvious, they just need to kickstart Iraq in the butt so that they can get what they want from that location. But also, if you think about this, if you really think about this, our economy is kind of teetering in this trade war. Do you really want to stimulate the economy? You know what's the best way to do that? Create thousands of new millionaires. And how are you going to do that? How many people are vested in the dinar and in the dung? If you change those rates, you create thousands of new millionaires in the United States who are going to rush right out and buy cars, houses, clothes, you name it. They're going to spend it.
I have a different thought process, and I like that one. I agree. I'm not disagreeing. I think another reason why to get that thing kickstarted, and I'll just say this, is because, A, it finally gets Iraq off of the U.S. assistance.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. They need to unpeg themselves from us and get pegged to the SDR or go 100%, which is what we want, 100% free floating. Now,
yeah.
Now, having said that, there is a 2019 report by the IMF that their goal is to make sure that all countries are free flowing so that no one country can do, you know, start lending money or grabbing control of another country, which is what we want. We really want this.
And that's why you guys also got to see that when you see reports out there about budgetary talks between 2020 to 2022, because that's all part of the the National Development Plan from 2018 to 2022. That's out there. And that's why they're kickstarting so many of these things, because they're just fulfilling their national plan. It's no secret that this was all what they want to do for the longest. Now, I believe that they wanted to have a rate before this, but I think that they weren't ready because of having the policy attack to get rid of the really bad corrupt people and have some type of safe haven that if you did arrest somebody like a Maliki, he wouldn't be released under some type of corruption, or, you know what I mean? Like, he could buy his way out of a jail. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I don't think I have a feeling he's the one big name that Interpol is going to get. I have no proof of that, but I believe he's the one that you and I were talking. Is he the one that's the most corrupt one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maliki, I've heard this from several people, and not just you guys, but Maliki, I think, has to be one of those people that you see go down for symbolism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's a couple of things we're seeing both with Iraq, the dinar, and the dung. Okay, one is Iraq is being walked through, as we know, the World Trade Organization, all these things that we see happening, the audits. There was a group of people that went over to do a reassessment. There's a push to complete the cabinet. There's a push for the Constitution. You see all these things happen. These things have to be in place in order for them to be accepted in the World Trade Organization.
Now understand this. Because they're a member of the WTO doesn't mean they have to have a good rate. Vietnam's part of the WTO, and they don't have a realistic rate. So a rate, I think people get that confused. You don't have to be a member to have a realistic rate. They want to have a realistic rate because they got to be on the international stage to conclude more of the construction stuff and more of the infrastructure in their country than actually need for the WTO. Now,
but also, members of WTO, when it comes to trade, they drastically save a lot of money for being a member. There's two types of expenses that are actually cut out and saves countries literally a ton of money.
And the
you do want to be.
And the WTO is nothing more than a group. That's why I keep trying to understand it. They're a group.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bunch of like-minded individuals, right, Jason? Right, Pimpe? It's a bunch of like-minded individuals that come together as a conglomerate. And you know what that sounds a lot like? The Kangaroo Club.
Hey, where the hell is my Kangaroo coin?
There's another thing that you actually brought up that was very interesting, Mr. B. And what you were talking about when you mentioned about, with Iraq, is kind of the same thing that's happening with Asia. He's hitting both fronts on that point. Remember what you were talking about, how we don't want Asia to make any deals. That's exactly true because of the fact, and everybody probably doesn't remember this, that day one when Trump got into office, where did he fly out to?
Oh, he went to a lot of different nations.
Well, mainly he went out to Asia. And you all should remember when he actually there was a riffraff with the Philippine president with Trump, remember?
Right.
Oh, no, he loves Trump now, so I don't know.
Duterte was really trying to badmouth the United States, but then all of a sudden, things changed. There's a reason for that. Well, yeah,
you see what's happening is China is starting to overtake some of their islands, and without Filipinos, without their permission. There's a huge thing about it that's not in our mainstream media, but like I said, I pay attention to a lot of different news from different countries. I know recently China went onto 2 of their islands, and then the leader of Philippines said, look, you might be able to beat us in a war, but I have no problem with sending out my army as suicide people to blow you guys up, because he's not tolerating the fact that China's trying to just take over the islands. They ain't having it.
Actually, what happened is that there were deals actually set in place. What's going on? And you can see this with Vietnam, because you can see with articles that have come out with Nike, come out with Google, like I told you about the new smartphone company. Trump actually strategically already met with key countries in Asia that are setting up trade once China breaks. Because China breaks, over. That actually sets a lot of the Asian countries free to actually do great deals with the United States to balance. Hey, remember, what did he
Jason, hold on. Pimp, hold on real quick. I got to pause real quick. Pause.
I just want to say real quick, you guys, we've been getting spammed by these porn sex people. So please don't click the links, because I don't want any of you guys to catch a virus. I'm working on the back end, but they're creating new pages and coming into the room. So if you don't see something posted by a moderator, me or Mr. Brando or Pimpe or Jason, please don't click the link. Okay, go ahead.
And here, I'm going to add this. Hold on.
Especially when it says, porn prom girl.
Okay, here's the funny thing. We've never been spammed by porn until we got basically infiltrated by a certain group of toothless hillbillies. So those toothless hillbillies here, I'm going to give you my whole feelings about your family. Okay? Now, I'm off of that.
But let them go ahead and continue their thought. I'm sorry.
Let's finish our thought real quick. It's funny that we get spammed. Nobody else gets spammed.
Well, no, that's not true. Other people have gotten spammed.
Okay. But
I'm
getting spammed. I've made it where I'm getting spammed. Right. Well, guess what, spammers?
Hey, don't do that, because you'll get blocked.
Sorry.
You'll get blocked.
Well, we're talking about sex.
Look, and we just talked about this, Jason. Me and Mr. Brando just talked about this probably about the beginning of this week, and I was talking to Miss April as well. And I was saying there's something going on. But Trump is working at deals with all those countries that are part of the Asian Pacific that actually, believe it or not, border on the South China Sea and where those ports are coming in and out. He has been racking up trade deals after trade deals after trade deals, taking them out of China and moving them into that whole Asian Pacific area. And a lot of these people are benefiting. You can go to any of these Vietnam newspapers and look at Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, all those countries around there, their GDP is exploding over these new trade deals. It's unbelievable. It's great to see.
Happy birthday, Eureka.
Happy birthday, Eureka.
Happy birthday, Eureka.
Also remember the Vietnam is actually going to be chairing the ASEAN summit next year. And that's a very big thing because of the fact they are going to be the top dog out of all the Asian countries that are going to be there. And that's one big thing that the United States is also going to be invited into. It's like a huge summit, and a lot of countries are there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know what you're
If
talking
everybody
about.
doesn't know what's going on in Jakarta, in Indonesia, they are actually getting ready to blueprint a massive overtaking of their islands in there. They're actually building seaports and airports all over the place, bringing in brand new generators because they're just about ready to just boost their GDP even higher.
Oh, they're rebuilding all their ports.
The clothing industry.
They're modernizing all of their ports right now. I think the summit that you're talking about, Jason, just happened. I know that Vietnam just walked out of a recent summit. As far as potential business, they walked away with $56 trillion in new business that's coming up. So that's huge, man. This is huge.
That's exactly what I was saying. Remember, Mr. Bell, I told you how Israel, even Italy, are trying to get in deals with Vietnam because of the fact that they're going to basically, just like Iraq, be the gateway in Asia to a lot of good trade deals. And the United States, thank God Trump got in there fast once he was in office. Because remember, a while ago, what did he say? He said an even playing field. And he mentioned that when he did his tour in Asia.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely wants an even playing field. He doesn't believe that we shouldn't be paying tariffs at all. He believes that some people got this, some people got that. Why can't we just trade for free? And I agree. But you have some people out there that were just trying to take advantage of this, situation. Unfortunately, they're corrupt.
That's why he's waiting for China to break. There's no deal with China because China basically monopolized all of Asia. And all the other countries in Asia are standing by for China to break because Trump already, like I said with the Philippines, he already signed the deal with Duterte.
Okay.
They are standing by.
Y'all, hold on real quick. I got to answer a couple questions.
Yep.
So one is, are you guys doing anything on the Dong, on the private channel from Billy Massey? The answer to that is yes.
I don't do anything on the Dong.
I don't do nothing on the Dong, but I do it on Patreon. Yeah, I talk about Dong. I've done 3 reports on Dong.
Are you going to do a new video or anything?
About Dong? Yeah, up and coming. I'll do a video next week about Dong.
Okay.
I'm bullish on Dong.
Yep.
Well, everything. Dong is one of those things that right now they're in a position right now that almost like the dinar. There's not a whole lot new things to talk about other than the fact that we're just now waiting for the word. We already know that they've already agreed with the United States to send the additional data, which has already been sent, to avoid being manipulated or being labeled currency manipulator.
Okay.
So we know that there's a new change coming. But, other than that, there's not a whole lot to really pay attention to.
Rojo Chief says, how many zeros are Vietnam going to drop from the currency? I haven't reported any yet. I think the dropping of the zeros thing is more for, like, let's say on Iraq and those guys right now. Vietnam hasn't gotten to those discussions, and I'm not going to speculate. How much do I suggest people buy Dong? I don't make recommendations on that.
Buy what you can afford.
No, don't even buy that. You got to pay for that information. I'm sorry. Bro, Chief, you want to know? Subscribe to Patreon. I'll tell you all you need to know. I have seen a lot for the Dong. The Dong has actually lopped a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, Vietnam's dropped. That's why I've never into the Vietnam currency, because they lopped a few times.
Now you see China is getting ready to once again devalue their currency. It'll most likely happen before the end of this month.
Yeah, and if they do, they'll be below 7.
Well, they are below 7.
No, they're not. They're at 6.923. They're not below 7.
Yeah, they're going to go up and over.
That's below 7.
Below 7. When I say below 7, I mean 7 point blah 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 blah. 6.923, whatever it is. They're not below 7 yet.
Well, we didn't want them lower, but we want them to artificially
below.
Down.
I mean 7. No, 7 being the benchmark. I want to go plus 7.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's above,
right?
Because they've been as low as 6.9,
right?
And during this trade war, and then they're at, like, last time I checked, 6.96. So we want them to go above.
Above that, yeah. Okay. There's more going to happen.
And that's, that's how you can tell China is trying to
hold on. Pimpe, hold on. Jason, go ahead. Finish your thought, Jason.
basically, that's how you can tell good analysis, Mr. B, that China is so desperate to do anything. They're like kicking and screaming to try to do everything they can. They're manipulating labels. They're going to devalue. You know, they're trying to up the ante by actually putting tariffs, but it's way too little and it's too late. You know, and you can tell Trump is not even scared to, you know, people are panicking, and a lot of companies in the States are like, no, stop the tariffs, stop the tariffs. That's because their best interest is in China. We want the opposite, like you said, because we want China to break.
And China, I don't want to see China I don't want to see China, Pepe, hold on. I don't want to see China succumb until the first of the year.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay, and Pepe, what were you going to say?
Right now, the people in Hong Kong, there's a many people protesting. Of course, they're protesting an agreement of extradition, but it isn't just that. That's one thing. But what China doesn't want to see happen is the world find out that 1 million people from Hong Kong are protesting against them, because the people are leaving China, running over Hong Kong to do financial business. So this is a real serious issue over there. But here's what a lot of people don't know. There are 7 countries right now that have huge protests going on. You don't hear about it in our media, but just so you know, these countries that are all protesting right now are people who are controlled by the so-called globalists. These are anti-Trump countries. These people are all finally standing up, but it's great to see. You know what I mean? So sex porn girl. Hey, what is this?
Wait, she back again?
Yeah, dude, you gotta keep coming on and on and on.
That's John Riley. That right person right
there. Okay, that's fine.
Blocking.
I'm removing this. The sex porn people are bad.
The maximum play is all about some porn stuff. You know what, y'all? We're gonna cut this short.
It's not short. It's actually 8:10.
Oh, it isn't short. Okay, listen, y'all. We're done for the evening. I hope you guys had a great time. I hope that you got a lot of your geopolitical questions answered. I also hope that if you have more questions, you will join Patreon, because when you join Patreon, you get 24 access to Pempe and Jason, who starts at the crack of dawn and doesn't go to sleep till about 10 a.m. So if you want these guys all day, all the time, join the group and you can talk to them. You don't
super quick, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Something. Neil posted something in there that caught my attention. Said China said last night they would now support Iran. Neil, just so you know, it doesn't make a difference what China says. They have lost almost 80% of their reserves. They can't even afford by themselves to fight the United States. There's just no way possible. So for them to support, as you know, India was fighting with Pakistan, and Pakistan kept saying to China, hey, we need your help. And China couldn't even help them. They didn't have the money to help them. So they can say they support whoever, but technically, financially, they can't afford to be in any type of war. And that's the same with Russia. Right now, Trump has got us in a really good spot. There's nobody out there that can really afford to fight us right now.
Daryl said, who cares about Trump?
You could describe it that they're basically, China's running on diesel power. They're not connected to anybody right now. They are just trying to survive.
Hey, John, 1980. Hold on, guys. Hold on.
He got the boot already.
John, 1966. Fly a kite. Kick rocks. Hey, and you know what? You've been kicked off every platform you've ever been on, so get the hell off of mine. Sex girl, porn watch, kick rocks. You guys, I love you guys. We're going a little late tonight. We'll continue the discussion on Patreon in a few minutes, but I will talk to you guys later on. And
you going live on Patreon?
Should I go live on Patreon with these two?
I don't know.
I think I will. If you want to join Patreon right now, I'll go live with these two cats right now on Patreon for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'll let them talk about rates, dates, whatever you want to hear. Patreon's going live. Jason, bye-bye. I love you. We're going live in 5 minutes, so call me right back.
Good show.
Love you, bro. Pempe, you know I love you, Uncle Luke. We're going live on Patreon in 5 minutes. Call me back.
All right. Similarly, I'm on it.
Done.
Okay,
bye. Gang, gang, gang.
Did we close it out already on here?
Okay. I'll go live on Patreon.
All right, now I got a key.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to hold it. Oh, we're still live. Hey, you didn't close it. Everybody heard me say that. Look. You didn't shut it. Where's the other window? How do I get to it? I hate alcohol.
Was it?
We're still live. You didn't hit stop.